Hello, and welcome to Recipes with Ben. And today we're making fresh mozzarella using the Pop Cultures kit that was provided to me from morebeer.com. So a huge thank you goes out to them for sending it to me. And I'd like to know that you can also use this kit to make ricotta cheese if you want to instead. So without further ado, let's get started and make some cheese. The items that are included in this kit include 3 vegetable rennet tablets, but you only need 1/4 of a tablet per half a gallon of milk. Next, for a more durable item is the thermometer, which is needed to monitor temperature at various points during the cheese making process. The 2 salts that are included in the kit is citric acid, which helps lower the pH, and then salt, which is added at the end to enhance the flavor. For the other durable materials in this kit, there's a bag that contains a cheesecloth and also a 2-part cheese basket. That cheese basket is made up of 1 part that is solid that fits inside the larger cheese basket that has holes. And that's everything that comes inside the kit, so let's get ready to make some cheese. The first step is to make a citric acid solution. So into this plastic container goes 1/4 cup of filtered water, followed by addition of the citric acid. It's recommended that for about a half a gallon of milk, you need 3/4 of a teaspoon of citric acid. Then you want to give them a quick mix until the citric acid dissolved inside the water and set that aside for the time being, as it will be added to the milk in a few minutes. The next solution that you need to make is the water rennet mixture. As I said, this kit came with 3 tablets, but it only takes 1/4 of a tablet for a half a gallon of milk. So after breaking it up into a quarter piece, the best method to make it into a powder so it dissolves more easily is to press that quarter piece between 2 spoons and then add that into another 1/4 cup of filtered water. Then mix the rennet into the water until it's completely dissolved, and now we can move on to the milk stage. Now for the milk, it's just use the whole fat milk, and the best quality milk will give you the best flavored cheese at the end. So half a gallon of milk goes into a large sauce pot. After all the milk is added into it, it's time to add the citric acid solution to the milk and stir to fully incorporate that citric acid. Then turn the heat onto medium-low and raise the temperature up to somewhere between 85 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. You want to continuously stir the milk so it doesn't scorch at the bottom as you're heating it, and use the provided thermometer to monitor the temperature. And once it hits that sweet spot between 85 and 90 degrees, it's time to add in the rennet solution so those enzymes can start to work on the milk. Give it a quick stir to mix it in, and remove it directly from heat and let that sit for 10 to 15 minutes. What I saw during this time was the milk started to solidify and a yellow liquid appeared around the rim of the pot, between the milk solids and the edge of the pot. After about 10 minutes, I wanted to check to see if it was ready, so I sliced it with a knife into 2 halves, and if it was fully ready at this time, they would begin to separate completely from each other. So I let it sit for another 5 minutes, and what I saw over that time was that cut started to separate, knowing that it was ready. Then it was time to cut up into cubes or curds, and the recommended pattern is to cut it first from left to right in one direction, and then cut it perpendicular to the first cuts. Then once all the cheese curds are cut up into about 1-inch cubes, place it back on the heat source and begin heating the liquid up to 100 degrees to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Use the thermometer to monitor the temperature as it raises. Once it reaches that temperature, turn off the heat and stir the cheese curds for about 3 minutes, and the whey should begin to separate from the curds. Then you want to line the cheese basket that has the holes in it with the cheesecloth and begin pouring the mixture over the cloth, using the basket to make sure you catch all the solids. What I figured out halfway through is the basket needed to be above the bowl. It's going to catch the whey solution and drain away. So what I did was I placed the basket on top of a clean colander and allowed the liquid to drain away after I'd poured all the liquid for about 10 to 15 minutes. The result was this greenish yellow liquid called whey, and the cheese curds were in the basket. After it had drained, the rest of the liquid needed to be pressed out, which means I first pulled the drawstring close to the mesh bag and pressed down with the solid part of the cheese basket that was included in the kit. Next, you got to add the whey solution back into the pot and begin heating that back up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit and monitoring the temperature with the provided thermometer. Then remove the cheese from the cheesecloth and use your hands to form a nice ball. Once it's in that desired shape and the whey is heated up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, place the cheese back into the liquid using some kind of slotted spoon so it doesn't splash when you add it into it. Allow it to warm up in the whey for 3 minutes. Then in a clean bowl, add 1 teaspoon of salt and transfer the cheese right on top of the salt. Now it's time to work the cheese until it becomes smooth and elastic. I kind of worked it with my hands like I knead dough, pushing it up and down and mixing the salt thoroughly into it. I didn't end up placing it back in a 140-degree bath one more time for about 3 minutes, and then I continued kneading it until I got into the final shape that I want and the outside was starting to form a smooth ball. Once in that circular ball shape that I wanted, I placed it immediately in an ice bath to help solidify that cheese, and I stored it in my fridge in fresh cold water in a steel container until that evening. The final resulting cheese was very rewarding and reminds me more of a goat cheese than a mozzarella, but nevertheless, I sliced it up that evening and placed it on my pizza using the cheese as a topping, and it turned out great. My overall thoughts on this kit is that it gives you everything you need to make enough cheese from 6 gallons of milk. All the durable materials held up and even survived the dishwasher after use, and the instructions I got were spot on, so if you want to try making homemade cheese for yourself, give this a try. So with all that said, thank you again to More Beer for supplying me with this kit, and I'll definitely be making more homemade cheese in the future. If you want to make your own homemade cheese, I'll leave a link down below to an affiliate link that you can use to get it for yourself. And if you like this type of video content, then consider subscribing so you don't miss out on future videos, and I'll see you again soon.